such an important tool in our lives, not just to bring pleasure, but also to heal and to bring hope.
We are just in a period now that African brands are just owning that, owning what we have and projecting it in however they see fit.
I just love this place because this is somewhere where memory itself is set in stone.
Inspiring arts and culture on BBC World News.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You are with BBC News with me, Sally Bundock. And we begin in Ukraine. And Russia's defence ministry is saying that fighting does continue in Soledar in eastern Ukraine. That being despite earlier claims by the head of the Russian mercenary group Wagner, who said they had actually taken the town. Now, the town is seen as strategically important as it could be used by Russian forces as a place from which to launch a fresh assault on the city of Bakhmut, where there has been fighting going on for many weeks. James Waterhouse has the latest. Now to the United States and California, where off the coast a cyclone has been causing chaos. It's continuing to pour rain onto the already soaked American state, which has now seen at least 18 flood-related deaths there. A series of storms since Christmas has toppled power lines, has caused mudslides to rock slides onto highways. Homes have been inundated and more severe weather is expected. Sophie Long has the latest from California.
A brief respite from the rain, but water surrounds Sacramento.
Well, let's go live to Stanford, California now, because I'm joined by Noah Diffenbaugh, who I can speak to, a meteorologist who is based there, climate scientist with Stanford University. It's great to have you on the programme, Noah. So just hearing from Sophie there's some huge devastation, millions of households impacted. What more can you tell us? OK. Noah Diffenbaugh, climate scientist at Stanford University, thank you. We appreciate your expertise on this. Well, let's stay with news coming out of the United States, because there's been no comment so far from the White House following US media reports that another batch of classified documents has been found linked to President Biden. It follows the revelation that papers with classified markings dating back to Mr. Biden's time as vice president were discovered in the private office he'd used on leaving the post. The Justice Department is currently investigating former President Trump's possession of classified documents that were found in his home in Florida. Here's our North America correspondent, Peter Bowes. Peter Bowes with the latest on that story. Now, the rock musician Jeff Beck, who is known as one of the greatest guitarists of all time, he has died at the age of 78. Beck, who played with the Yardbirds in the 1960s and led the Jeff Beck Group, he died suddenly after contracting bacterial meningitis on Tuesday. He won 8 Grammys. His fingers and thumbs were famously insured for more than $8 million. And here's what another rock legend, Gene Simmons of Kiss, had to say about Jeff Beck. That is Gene Simmons there of Kiss, paying tribute to Jeff Beck, who's died at the age of 78. And tributes have been pouring in from many members of the musical scene, and including the actor Johnny Depp, who says he is devastated by this news. He was working with Jeff Beck very, very recently, playing and performing with him as well. So as I mentioned, the tributes coming in from all corners in response to that news. Now let's talk about Sri Lanka next, where the government is planning big spending cuts. It says it barely has enough money to pay salaries and pensions of public servants there. All government departments have been ordered to make a 5% reduction in spending, so that's right across the board. The International Monetary Fund has agreed a bailout loan for Sri Lanka of nearly $3 billion, but it wants the country to raise taxes and cut public services. Ben Chu reports. That was a report coming from Sri Lanka about the economic challenges they're facing there. Now let's take you to Germany next, where the operation to evacuate a site earmarked for a new coal mining operation is actually entering a second day. Officers have clashed with protesters near the village of Lutzrath in the west of the country. Germany's coalition government's delayed plans to reduce reliance on coal following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Tim Allman reports. Now let's bring you all the latest sport.
Year-old posted what she called a little life update for 2023 on social.
Hello there, I'm Tolson Tollett and this is your sports news. Where we start with football and Manchester City, who've won 6 of the last 9 EFL Cups. You can get all the latest sports news, of course, at our website. That's bbc.com/sport. But for me, Tolson Tollett and the rest of the team, that's just sports news for now.
That is indeed. Our thanks to Tolson and the team for that. And as he's mentioned, there's so much more detail on our website on all the stories we've covered so far today, including that lovely news from Naomi Osaka, the tennis star, that she is expecting a baby, which is really, really exciting. So plenty more to come here on BBC News. In a moment, we'll be bringing you all the latest technology news and weather, of course, but also just having a look at this morning's papers, which are really dominated by the strike action that we've seen, certainly here in the UK, that's been taking place across the country. Ambulance workers today staging their second day of strike action, and now there's news that civil servants could be conducting strike action from early next month as well. So a lot of this is being debated in this morning's newspapers, which again is summarised on our website. If you look at BBC News online at the bottom there's an update on all today's front pages. I will see you soon.
Hello there. We've had some real stormy weather conditions across days across Europe. It's been very mild. We've had some real temperature contrasts bitterly cold days across Eastern Europe. Something a little less.
Now on BBC World News, the latest business news from across the globe. World Business Report.
Light at the end of the tunnel. US figures are expected to show another sharp fall in inflation, easing pressure on the Federal Reserve to keep raising the cost of borrowing. Transport, post, health and now civil servants, staff at 124 government departments plan to walk out over pay as the UK strike crisis deepens.
We have the lowest pay offer anywhere in the public sector of 2%, 40,000 people using food banks, 45,000 civil servants claiming benefits.
Plus trouble in store. UK retailers had a merrier Christmas than expected, but worry about an unhappy New Year. Hello and a very warm welcome. This is World Business Report with me, Sally Bundock. And we start in the US, where Wall Street is hoping official figures are about to confirm another big fall in inflation. The annual rate of price rise is expected to come in at around 6.5% for December, down from 7.1% in November, and a major drop from the record 9.1% that we saw in June. Now that could give the US Federal Reserve more leeway to ease off on its programme of steep interest rate rises, as Samira Hussain reports from New York. Well, let's talk this through with Gervais Williams, who's investment manager with Premier Miton. Gervais, lovely to see you. So markets today already in Asian trading time now, Europe's poised to open, are looking ahead to this number in the States, aren't they? They want to see inflation going down in the US. OK, Gervais Williams, lovely to talk to you. We'll see you again soon, investment manager with Premier Miton.
Thank you very much.
Now, here in the UK, the wave of industrial action hitting vital public services shows no sign of letting up. The National Health Service is facing the prospects of more strikes by staff after 14 trade unions say they would no longer work with the NHS pay review body for the next year's awards. The news came as ambulance crews in England and Wales took strike action on Wednesday and for the second time this winter. Our health editor Hugh Pym has more detail. Well, the strike by ambulance crews came as the UK's Public and Commercial Services Union announced around 100,000 civil servants will be walking out on February the 1st. 124 government departments and other public bodies will be affected. Union boss Mark Sadwatka told the BBC many of his members are struggling with the cost of living. Well, let's stay with the UK. Retailers have been reporting better than expected sales during the Christmas period. That's despite the fact that it's getting more expensive, isn't it? The cost of living crisis. But they are worried it may not be a happy new year for them, as Emma Simpson reports. And do stay with us here on BBC World News. Still to come, we've got some good news for you. It's a big Taiwanese chip maker, TSMC. It's seeing returns despite big challenges in the wider sector. You're with BBC World News. I'm Sally Bundock. Here are the headlines. Fighting intensifies in eastern Ukraine as the battle for the town of Soledar proves one of the bloodiest of the Russian invasion so far. And aviation officials say a damaged database file caused the technical fault that forced flights to be grounded across the US. Now to Asia, where the world's biggest chip maker, TSMC, has just reported its latest quarterly results. Mariko Oy in our Asia Business Hub was crunching the numbers for us. Mariko Oy there. Well, let's take you to India next, where the economy has seen a raft of downgrades coming in for this year, most recently from the World Bank this week. But despite the lower growth projections, the country is likely to retain its tag as the world's fastest growing major economy for the second year in a row. Nikhil Inamdar had this update. Nikhil Inamdar, let's squeeze in some other business stories. The International Monetary Fund says rising interest rates are heightening the risk that many low-income countries will default. It says an international debt crisis could leave up to 1 billion people exposed to extreme food insecurity. Royal Mail has asked people to stop sending mail abroad due to a cyber incident causing severe disruption. It says it's temporarily unable to send letters and parcels overseas and is working hard to resolve the issue. The incident's been reported to the UK Cyber Intelligence Agency and police who deal with serious crime. Elon Musk, the former richest man in the world, has broken the record for the largest loss of personal fortune in history. According to a blog by the Guinness World Records, he lost at least $165 billion between November 2021 and December 2022. It follows a fall in the value of shares in Mr. Musk's electric car company Tesla after he bought Twitter last year. Now onto the aviation industry, because the reopening of borders following the pandemic has given it a much-needed revival. The International Air Transport Association found travel for all regions improved last year compared to 2021. But the agency is warning the reintroduction of testing for travellers from China will do little to contain a virus that already has a global footprint. Here's more from IATA's chief economist, Marie Owens-Thompson. So that there was Marie Owens-Thompson, Chief Economist at IATA. And that brings to a close World Business Report. As ever, it's been great to have your company. If you want to get in touch, I'm on Twitter at Sally Bundock BBC.